In the previous two lectures, I showed you how we can format the dashboard as well as how we can format all the worksheets at once. In this lecture, I'll show you how we can individually change the formatting of the worksheets. So let's say we were to be working with this worksheet right here. Let's go inside the worksheet by clicking on Go to Sheet, and from here, if we wanted to modify this worksheet to show a different font, all we would need to do is we need to right click on here and click on Format. Once you get to this screen, you're gonna see that we can change the default worksheet font or from here, from this option. So whatever changes that we make over here, they will not be reflected in the other sheets. This is only for this particular worksheet. So if we were to go back and see, as you can see, only this worksheet is getting changed and not all the others. Let's go back to the sheet itself, and let's go through each of these different options that we have here. So we can change the header of the worksheet through this. So as you can see, the headers are getting changed. We can change the tooltip. Let's make it smaller. We can change the total pane, the header, the grand total. None of these which are visible on this visualization. We can individually change the row font, so we can change the rows. We can change the columns that we see up here. So as you can see, as I change the colors, these changes are being reflected on the columns and not on the rows. If we wanted them to be reflected on the rows, we would make the changes over here on the rows. If we wanted the changes to be reflected on both rows and columns, we would change it on the sheet. We can change the alignment by going to the alignment option that we have here, and same thing, we can change the entire workbook alignment, or we can change the alignment by rows or columns. So as you can see, when we make changes on the rows, these changes are being reflected only on the rows and not on the columns. But if we were to change the alignment on the columns, these changes are going to be reflected up here. If we wanted to add shading to the columns, we can go here and we can make changes over here on the columns. So if we were to add colors, these colors will be added only on the columns. If we wanted the colors to be changed on the rows, all we would need to do is click on the shading, click on rows, and we can change the header from here. Or we can go to the sheets and we can change the entire worksheet color. We can change the pane color, which is this right here, or we can change the header. So changing the default header for the worksheet will change the header for the worksheet. Same thing, if we wanted the changes to be only reflected on the rows, we can make the changes here, and as you can see, these changes are only being reflected on the rows. Same thing, column, if we were to make any changes over here on the columns, these changes would reflect only on the columns. We can also add borders. So if we were to add borders around the sheet, so as you can see, these changes are being shown right here. When we make changes over here on the default cell, we can also change the borders of this worksheet by clicking on the borders, and then we can change go to the sheet, and then from here we can change the pane border. As you can see, these changes are being reflected over here. Same thing, we can change the border on the rows and columns. We can also modify the lines. So as you can see, if we were to change the grid line over here by going to line, grid lines, and changing it to black, then grid lines are being added. In this view, grid lines are not needed, so we can keep it as none. But these options are useful when you're working with line charts or area charts. You can also individually change the font of the different fields. So let's say we wanted to change the font of the sales. So we would just go to the drop down, click on the sum of sales field, and from here, whatever changes that we make, so we're also able to modify the font of the individual fields as well. So if you were to right click, so we're also able to modify the font of these various measures. So we're also able to modify the font of these various measures that we have in place by individually selecting them by going to this drop down where it says field. Let's create another worksheet so these changes are easily visible. So let's bring in a field like category, and let's bring in sales. So currently we are seeing sales by various categories. So if we wanted to remove the $sign, or if we wanted to add the $sign right before this figure, all we would need to do is we would need to go to the formatting of this measure that we have, and over here the default option, the numbers, we can change this either into a percentage, and now it's being shown as a percentage. By default it would probably not have the dollar amount, it would probably be being shown like this. So if you wanted to add the dollar symbol right before the number, all we would need to do is we would need to right click as shown, go to format, and over here where it says numbers, you can add, go to currency, and it will add the currency over here. If you were living in a different locality, you can change it to your countries or the currency that is being shown. So if you were working with Albanian, then it will show the Albanian symbol. So as you can see, we can change the formatting right before the measures as well. This concludes the formatting aspect of the course. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me through Udemy, and I'll get those answered for you.